are listening to WHOA Podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the WHOA GNV Podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make it go, whoa! I am so excited because this is the first episode of 2020. Welcome to the new decade.
We made it to 2020. How about that?
Can't believe it. Michael Dees, what is up, man? How are you?
Man, nice and relaxed after a long break. Not really.
I know you guys. We just had Thanksgiving break.
Right.
So for everybody who's listening, today is actually December 1st. But this goes out on January 7th, episode 87, season 3. I'm like juiced, man. I'm ready to go.
It's so exciting, man.
So I mean, 2020, new year, new goals. What's on your mind now as we're getting ready for this year?
Right. So as right now, like in real time, December 1st, it's like get done with the end of the year, right? Make all your last minute plans for how you're going to close out this year, and then once
Gators beat the Noles
last night, so everybody's feeling real good.
We're recording this on a Sunday. That's how dedicated we are, you guys. We're recording this on a Sunday to make this episode happen.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll get into 2020, and actually when this episode drops will be the first day of classes in January, so it'll be a really busy day at the dealership. A lot of sales, new customers coming in for the new semester and everything like that. So it's go time. It's time to start the year strong, and
get things kicked off.
Don't look back.
Let's go. A whole new decade, man. 2020. Who would have thought? I mean, we would have thought cars were flying and stuff by now.
For sure.
So, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and introduce to you our guest of the day. Today on the show, we have Steve Nudelberg, an author, expert sales trainer, biz dev expert, keynote speaker, and serial entrepreneur. He wrote this incredible book called The Confessions of a Serial Salesman, 27 rules for influencers and leaders that will change your life and business. And with him, his two sons, Marc and Jake. I can't even read my own handwriting. Marc and Jake Nudelberg. Guys, welcome to the show.
What a thrill, man.
Thank you for having us.
This is neat.
Yeah,
really
glad
neat.
to be here.
I mean, welcome.
On a Sunday, as you said.
On a Sunday, it's funny because I was skimming through the book because I'm going to be completely honest, I've read the first 4 chapters of the book. I was like, I'm going to try to squeeze this in over Thanksgiving break. And no, I had to have the family time. But I'm excited to get into it because I can tell so much of it's going to resonate with me. But I was skimming through and I saw that, hey, the grind includes Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, for years, the companies I've owned, the companies I've worked with, everybody would walk around on Friday afternoon going, wow, TGIF, thank God it's Friday.
Right.
And to me, that means you basically quit and you were thinking about happy hour. So if you weren't going to work on Fridays and you come in on Mondays and you're hungover from the weekend and you wouldn't work Monday, when are you going to work? So we created a club, called it TGIS, the grind includes Saturday and Sunday. Doesn't mean you need to work full time, but when you're an entrepreneur, to think that you can let go of the wheel of the car on Friday afternoon and not drive again until Monday is ridiculous. So stay focused, stay in it, and what you'll find is the busiest and most successful people are doing a little bit of work on the weekends. And I speak to specific examples of where CEOs want to speak and engage on Saturday morning or Sunday morning because it's the only time that they are not cluttered. So it really works. It's not just hocus pocus.
And talking about football, the Florida Gators and Florida State yesterday, but football in that world, the game happens on Saturday and that's when everybody's watching and that's what everybody cares about. But the work goes Sunday to Friday. You're there prepping. As soon as the game's over on Saturday, you're breaking it down. You're looking at what you did well, what you didn't do well. Then you're going into, your new opponent and figuring out how you're going to attack them, putting the plan together so that you can practice Monday through Thursday, clean it up on Friday and play again on Saturday. So there is no break.
Right.
It includes every day.
All right, so talk to me a little bit about the holiday because we just had Thanksgiving. You came to Gainesville. Who's in Gainesville?
So I went to school here 100 years ago. My son Marc actually coached here in 2015 with when Coach McElwain was here, and Jake is a senior. He works as a student assistant for the football team, handling the running backs. And what I find fascinating is the time that we spend together. The conversations between business and sports are so aligned, so, we have these great conversations about discipline, about planning, about execution, and all of the words are the same. It's just these guys play on Saturday and we play every day. So, Jake's living in Gainesville, will stay in Gainesville another year at least. And so it's great for me because I love coming back. Being a Gator fan is fun again. It wasn't for a couple of years, but in the early years, Mark went to Florida State, and I thought I would never be a Florida State fan. But what you come to find out is that wherever the blood is, that's where the support goes. So.
I hope my kids don't go to Florida State.
He came home and he said, "I got good news, I got bad."
It's so, being a Knoll, and then coaching here in 2015, like everybody who I went to school with looked at me like I was the Antichrist. Like, are you kidding? How could you go there? And I was like, guys, it's a paycheck. Like in coaching, you don't get to choose where the job is. And why would I not want to go coach in the SEC and be a part of the Florida Gators that, we had so many tough battles with early on at Florida State when I was there. So like having then moved here and lived here, there was so much love for Gainesville and the University of Florida and the team and the SEC and everything like that. It was so endearing to me after working here. I was so glad that my brother had the opportunity to come here to work for them because, he grew up a Knoll. Like I was a Knoll, and he grew up loving Florida State. So for us to have the appreciation for both schools and both places, to not have that hated, rivalry, to really understand both places and what's good, and it's a really cool experience.
That's awesome.
So.
I think one of the other takeaways, which is kind of cool, is you realize that life and business and sports is all cyclical. Mm-hmm. And so, there was a time when he was coaching the Knolls. Well, that was Tebow time here. So he coached against Tebow, and that team was unbeatable. The achievements that they had. And so every time coming in to play them was a separate set of challenges. Well, now those roles are completely reversed. And obviously, Florida State is having their challenges, but it comes around. They'll bring in a new guy, a new system, and before you know it, they'll be competing again. It's just the lesson is you need to learn to take the good with the bad in everything you do. In all of the bad, there are great lessons. There isn't one great salesperson, great entrepreneur, or great athlete that I've ever met that didn't have some really bad story. Like, holy shit, this really happened to me. And instead of laying around blaming people, I did something about it and I took a great lesson. And so I think Florida State's learning a lot of lessons about what it's like to be at the bottom, and the Gators should be humble about being, in a good spot. You agree?
Yeah. And I think they are.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so much fun.
It is interesting that you bring up the cyclical part of it because it is true. And at least I've been a Gator fan my entire life, and you go through those,
Haven't
changes.
missed a home game since when?
2003.
Wow. Good for you, man. That's neat.
But you see those teams like Alabama.
There should be an award for that or something.
There
Somebody.
probably is.
What's that? They should name something after me? Well, maybe. But like it's cyclical for us, but there seems to be like some teams out there, like right now Clemson, and they've had a good run, but Alabama, Ohio State, they seem almost impervious to those cyclical natures. So what about those in your
process?
Well, when first of all, Nick Saban was a client of mine during and I had a sports marketing company. He was the head coach of the Dolphins, and when he took over Alabama, they were terrible.
Right.
I mean, his first year was bad. Jimmy Johnson took over the Cowboys. They were really, really bad. So understanding that it can change, and what changes is mindset. How you look at yourself and how you believe yourself. When you go to Alabama, Nick's not interested about like what you think. Here's how we do it here, and you wear that A, and that means something. That is discipline and work ethic and all the camaraderie that didn't happen before. So you might want to comment on this, Mr. Jake.
Yeah, I think the interesting part is, and really Mullen, when he came in, if you look at Florida State and Florida, the talent was very similar. Florida State was coming off top 5 recruiting classes, better recruiting classes than Florida. One thing that he did that Willie Taggart didn't do was instill a mindset. Right? I mean, the difference of the team that we had in 2015 and 16 and 17 to what we have now is completely different. It's the same players, the same talent, but they think completely differently. We walk into every game thinking we are going to win because we are the Florida Gators, and you're not. And I think that's what Ohio State does, Alabama does. They don't ever walk into a game saying we're not going to win. We are better than you. We work harder. We're smarter. We prepared better. And that's why we win, and we will continue to win.
the preparation is
Unreal, right?
what's different. Like, it's great to come in and say we're the Gators and we're just going to beat you because we're the Gators. But what you have to do between Sunday and Friday to really build the belief in your mind that you've prepared differently than everybody else and you are more prepared for every single scenario and you know that you're the better team. That's what Nick Saban does unbelievably well. Like, I was with Jimbo Fisher at Florida State. We were bad, right? We 31-0. Wake Forest beat us on our home field before he got brought in. That was rock bottom for that program at that time, right? He changed the way everybody thought because of how we practiced. What we did in January, what we did in February was different than anything that they had done previously, and it created the mentality that we work harder than you year round, not just during the season, but all the time. So whatever your system is, you have to have a process that makes people believe that they're ready, prepared, and willing and ready to go beat anybody at any time. And that's what Nick Saban has done. And same thing with Clemson and Dabo Swinney. Like, yeah, they're getting great players, but those guys are prepared and believe in what they're doing there, and that's the difference. So,
you know, when you see great talent alone is not enough. And these guys who recruit all the time see kids with great talent, no work ethic. I'll take a kid whose attitude and work ethic is unbelievable and train him to be a superior performer rather than somebody who has all the raw talent and then doesn't bring the work ethic. So when you take that whole conversation and move it into an entrepreneur or a sales conversation, you know, most of the people, and we call this in our trainings, we call it show up and throw up. Tomorrow morning's Monday morning, boom, they're going to be most of the sales population. He's going to come in. They haven't thought about anything for a week. They've had all kinds of excuses and whatever, and they're going to just show up and expect something to happen. The winners are the ones who have a steady game plan that the day is already programmed about what they're going to do, who they're going to do it with, when they're going to do it. And you find in coaching, that's how it is. Your day is so structured. Business people don't have a straw. Oh my God, what am I going to do? It's only 20 working days. What do you mean 20 working days? It's 30 days in every month, you know? So it's fun.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny because even in this conversation last night, I mean, I was watching it on TV because I didn't go to the game, but they were talking a lot about development, right? And like how that developmental piece was really, really missing from Florida State right now. And they need to really get that back, right? And I think that, I mean, it's funny because you're right. All of this can relate to business. The same thing, whether it's the structure, the processes, the development of key players. I mean, it's all extremely relevant. And, I mean, that's what I love about the show too, is that because we've had football players on the show.
Sure.
We had Ahmad Black on here, which that was super interesting to get into. I mean, yeah, I mean, we've had several, and it's just a ton of fun to.
So it's interesting the way those guys treat themselves, what they eat, how they sleep, their whole being is different than people who are average performers who do things that are not conducive to winning. So it's, when you match them up, and you see a lot of great athletes writing books now, you see a lot of great coaches writing books because it's all a leave behind. My book was a process that I developed years ago for me because people say, wow, man, you're really a great salesperson. You must have been born into this, and that's complete bullshit. That it is all about how you think about what you do, how you treat yourself. And so I built the 27 rules to have some guiding principles. And the validation for me was I taught it to my boys. I said, dude, this is how we show up. There are no excuses. There are, first rule of the book is wake up early. Early is nebulous to people. What does that mean? Somebody who's working all night long, 12 hours from 12 to, it doesn't matter.
But you said 3 to 4?
So I wake up between 3 and 4 every day. I have
every day.
Every day. I mean,
today?
Like today.
And you watched the game last night?
We were out
at the Swamp restaurant, you said?
It's training. I haven't used an alarm clock in forever, and I don't do it to say, look at me, I wake up at 3 o'clock. If you want more, you have to do more. And so most people just aren't programmed. They go, oh, I don't have time, which is another thing. It's like, seriously, we all have the same time. There's 86,400 seconds in every day. You have the same amount of time I have. I choose to use mine differently. So my bank of seconds is more efficient than yours. And if you look at great coaches, they manage the clock better.
Okay, that's true. Okay,
so it's the same thing. There's only
point.
60 minutes in a game.
All right, so Steve, what what time do you go to bed?
So that's the number one asked question at my seminar.
I don't want this to be like a podcast that it could be like any other podcast, but
no, it's the number one question across the board at every sales meeting, everything. They go,
like,
hey, I read your book, and what time do you go to bed? I go to bed when I'm tired. So I don't look at it. Oh, it's 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock that I have to go to bed. So for me, generally speaking, after 9:30, nothing great's going on. So I go 9 to 3 to sleep, and that's a solid 6 hours, which is much more than most people get or want. Or so you guys know.
Hold on. So is me being a morning person, not being a morning person, a mindset thing?
So you've told yourself you're not a morning person. Most people will tell you, I'm not an artist, I'm not a salesperson, I'm not. And if you drill yourself with what you're not, it's self-fulfilling. Yep, you're not. The minute you say, I am going to be the best at this, it's all learning. And then you can practice to get better at it, and all of a sudden, you're a morning
I don't
person.
like to get up early. I work out every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. There's not one morning that I like getting up. Like, I just don't give myself the option. Like, once the alarm goes off, I have to get up. Because if I don't get up, then I can't get to the gym. If I don't get to the gym, then I don't feel right for the rest of the day. There's just I just told myself there's no other option.
This is it.
And I do it.
And what you'll find is that the real success comes from being uncomfortable, putting yourself in a situation where you're uncomfortable. The best workouts that athletes have is when they don't feel like doing it. And I'm hurt, whatever. They get out there and the adrenaline and everything pushes them to a place that they wouldn't have gotten, when it's, I can do this. And, so for me, the morning hours, there's nothing inbound. At 3 o'clock, nobody's emailing me, nobody's calling, texting, social media is quiet, so I can achieve a lot between 3 and 5:30 in the morning that I could never do in any other time because we live in a world that's distracted. And if you listen to guys like Gary Vee and some of the people who are real social media influencers, it's all about attention. Well, I don't want you to break my attention from 3 to 5. I want to drill all my good thinking. And I look at it like the ocean. I'm putting everything out there. Then I go about my day. And at the end of the day, it all comes back to me just like the waves. And it's all about rhythm.
Do I have to wake up early to be successful?
You do not. That is the fallacy. You need to build your clock that's genuinely you. So if you legitimately don't want to get up in the morning, don't. I never tell anybody what to do. I never trained anybody, never worked or coached anybody and said, this is absolutely what you do. You need to make a decision what you want and what you need to do to get there. That's strategy versus tactics. Most people don't have a strategy. I know where I want to go. I know what I want to achieve. I know what has to go in to do that.
Okay. All right. So, Jake, are you a morning person too?
I wake up every day at 6:30.
6:30.
So I went out last night to celebrate the win, obviously.
Okay.
I probably went to bed at 2:30, and I was up before him at 6:30. So
Okay.
throw that out there because I'm a little bit better.
But who was up?
Who was up?
Who was up at 3 o'clock this morning?
Who was up?
Who was up when I got up? He was already up on the computer working every day.
Okay. So last year, this time, beginning of the new year, and this happens, right? Like everybody has these new resolutions, goals. Like I'm gonna wake up at 4 a.m. and I'll tell you, I did it for the first quarter. I was up at 4 a.m. and I did it, but I could not sustain it. I could not keep it going because what I found out was that I was doing that, and by Thursday and Friday, I was getting to Friday, and I was zonked, man. I had too weak, not enough energy, and so is it me not, staying disciplined, because I know that's a huge thing that's talked about in here, right? Is being disciplined. Is it not being disciplined through that long enough to build up that new routine and that new habit, or what can I do?
Well, so if you look at January 1st, which is where January 7th, when we're going to post this, the gym memberships are off the chart. Everybody, I'm going to the gym. This is the new me.
Right.
Everybody's the new me. Well, sorry, buddy. It's always you. It's never new or old. It's always you. So when you did it for a quarter, that's fantastic. The hard part is bridging consistency.
Right.
Discipline is great, but disciplined and done. So small small things done over a long period of time. So maybe it's not, early, maybe it's not 5:30, maybe it's 6 o'clock. Maybe that extra half hour is better for you. And it's all a litmus test to say, what works for me? What am I eating to stay active and, mindset? What am I reading? What am I putting in my body, in my mind? What am I feeding myself to stay motivated and focused on the goal? Because you wound up focusing on the hurt and the pain. Every single athlete, every single entrepreneur knows pain, how to get through that pain. So if I want you to visualize this, if you can, if we were going to climb a mountain, right, getting to the middle of the mountain is much easier than getting from the middle to the top. You're going to need to do more, change the territory, the terrain changes, it's different weather. So you got out of the gate and you did what most people consider, all right, I did that. But then you look back and you go, well, breaking through that next part and doing the second quarter probably would have changed your whole life, because then, there's more. And so it's little changes. So whatever it was, I don't know if you said, I'm going to wake up at 4 every day. That's extreme. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 5:30, and incrementally making changes, I think.
I just like to sleep.
Yeah, no, I mean, look,
Sleep is overrated.
That's my girlfriend, Gabby. Like, she just loves to sleep. Like, it's not that she's not a morning person. She just loves to sleep. Like, it takes her longer to get out of bed. And so, like, we are direct opposites, because even if I say I'm going to sleep in at 7 o'clock, I'm like moving, so I even if I want to sleep in, I'm already like up and starting to toss and turn. And so now I'm like nudging her, like, hey, let's get out of bed. Let's go do something. Let's work out, whatever. And I think about it as like, I work out every day, but I don't do the same thing every day. So for me, you can't work out the same muscle every single day, because you'll never get the growth. So for me, it's about, I have to get up to do something. It might just be walking one day. I'll get on the treadmill, put on an incline, and just walk for 20 minutes. Yeah, that's not an extreme workout, but to me, I got up, I got something done, and now I'm on my way to whatever else it is I do. So I think for me, it's discipline, but it's discipline within a framework of, I know I just need to do something. What is that something? You know what I mean? And finding how that works for you. So like my dad said, maybe adjusting the time and just choosing to get up earlier than you'd want to get up helps achieve that.
So Mike, you kind of made this transition the opposite of what I did, where I did what everybody else does. Started the new year off strong, woke up early at 4 a.m. for the first quarter, and then fell off, you.
I have to shock the system, otherwise I won't do it. Like I've done the thing where it's like, you got to do the incremental baby steps and stuff, and I'll get undisciplined that way. I have to shock the system and it be so radical that it makes me commit to the change.
But there were nights where we were here till 11 o'clock at night, and then you were still getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
My alarm goes off at 4:30 and I hit the gym at 6.
There you go.
Every day.
So I think one of the other things that is people don't think about, but great athletes have coaches. They have accountability, people that they're accountable to. So LeBron is the best, but LeBron has a coach. He has a shooting coach, somebody that helps him manage the activities to get to where he is. And so if you were to have an accountability coach, that's not a weakness, that's a strength. I have somebody who is paying attention to my activities, because it's all activity based. Your activities and your outputs, boom, get you the input that you want. So when someone's managing that with you, it becomes significantly different than doing it on your own, because it's easy to bail on your own. There are 60,000 negative thoughts that go through the brain every day. So you're fighting this, go on, it's, like people who go on a diet, they know eating a donut is bad. That's not new news to somebody, but that negative side is, come on, one donut, it's not really going to hurt. You're going to live forever. So what you went through is what everybody goes through, the plan and the what you put together to get over it. Everybody has to face, and when you get over it, and then the results start to feed itself. And that's mindset. That's what's happening for the Gators now. Like last year at this time, they're probably going, we got to practice still. Now they're fired up. What are we doing? How are we doing it? Because it's all about, we could do more. We can get there. Something big is going to happen. And here's the thing. No matter what you do in your life, nothing happens without the work. It just doesn't. It's the best part about, all the advice that's being out there. And if you go on LinkedIn and you go on any of these social media sites, everybody's a coach. I'm a life coach. I'm a money coach. Find somebody who does it that you admire and get on board with them. So for me, my pitch in the marketplace is that I'm a guy that's working every day building new businesses. It's all about mindset for me. If you want to learn from my mindset, I can help you, but you would never get in the car with somebody who's never driven before. Yet there are people who, hire trainers and coaches who have never actually had big sales. So that's why I love about, these guys played, they understand what it's like, and then they get in there and they may not have been able to play at the level of the people that they coach, but they're that outside eyes. They're like, hey, make this move, do this, and then every day watch them doing it, and then they get the results, and it's where the hugs and the good stuff is.
You talked about how you did it for a quarter, and a quarter isn't a very long time, obviously. So if
Thanks for reminding me.
Did I tell you?
It was an eternity for him.
Did I tell you that they're ball busters too?
To create real habits, you have to do it for a prolonged time. And you look, last year we lost to Georgia in his first year in a tough loss, and the team responded. We came in on Monday and had our worst week of practice and got blown off the field by Missouri at home. You look at this year, was the exact same thing. Lost a tough one to Georgia, but we came back this year and had the best week of practice, and we beat Vanderbilt by 40, right? That took a year to change a mindset. It didn't happen in 2 weeks. He couldn't get it done in the 6 months that he was here. It took him almost 2 years to finally change the mindset and change habits, which I think is a testament that you have to keep going and bust through the wall. It's not going to happen overnight. And
if you had somebody cheering you on or breaking your eggs about it, that makes
this is where it goes back to being my fault. No, of course.
So I mean, how have you been able to stay so disciplined in it?
Accountability is huge. So, actually, shout out to Casey Henshaw, who's the director of catering at Sweetwater Branch Inn. She's my accountability partner at the gym. If I don't wake up,
there you go,
then I feel like I'm letting her down.
Damn,
She's going with me.
Yeah,
just that simple.
So it helps. If those moments of weakness where
because you don't want to let her down.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to she's standing there going, "Wow, he let me down." So human nature puts you in that.
If the alarm goes off and she's not going, then I sit there and I'm weighing the decision of, I don't really have to because she's not going.
Some of us don't want to let our warm covers down.
And the longer you lay there, the harder it gets. I know for me, I have to get to the sink to brush my teeth as fast as possible because that will keep me up, and I'm in it.
Yeah,
the longer I lay there and contemplate, that mental, your brain gets real strong, real quick.
Defeat have a chance.
Yeah.
And you start to listen to your body and know what your body wants and what your body needs. I know for me, that little endorphin kick in the morning is significant to me. Even if it's not my best workout, I go and I do it, and the fact that I did it and I got the blood flowing, it always brings a better mindset. And I'm a big believer in the laws of attraction. What you think about come to you, and when you change your thoughts, that's where the good stuff happens. Instead of thinking, I'm not going to do, I'm going to do this. And so it really is a function of all of the things that are happening in your process, how you develop yourself. And to me, I read every day. I don't read books cover to cover. I jump in and I jump out. My book was meant to be that way. You could read a chapter and be done. And there's lined paper, after each rule, so you can concentrate on a rule for a month.
Right.
So it's when we decided to write the book, and it really was sort of a fun experience doing that. But we wrote it, we published it. I got some advice that said you should make it a paperback book and sell it for $9.99. And I said, I'm a sales and marketing guy my whole career. The first time someone is going to come and interact with my brand, it's going to be significant. It's not going to be a pamphlet. It's going to be hardcover. It's going to be real. And I'm going to sell the book for $27. And the girl looked at me and says, you've never published a book before. You're never going to be able to sell it for $27. And I said, I'll tell you what. There's 27 rules. If someone's not willing to pay me $1 a rule, don't buy my book. I was willing. I didn't care if anybody bought it, and we sold thousands of books. Because if you can't squeeze $27 worth of value out of what I gave you, don't do it. That's all. There's plenty of books to buy, So, and we've sold thousands. And it's the stories and the things I get. I was showing them yesterday. had somebody from the Indianapolis Colts, one of their salespeople.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's
cool.
Like out of nowhere, that lands on my LinkedIn.
That's awesome.
And says, wow, I bought your book. Somebody recommended it. And in 4 months, I'm already seeing great success at the start of my career. There isn't enough zeros in the world that could be better than that. And that's, I think, legitimate in all of this stuff. Is what do you really want? What's in it for you?
So do you guys live by these 27 rules? Or how many of the 27 rules?
Yeah.
This could get funky right here.
I'm always trying to push the envelope around here.
Kind of made it sound like he shared the rule with us. The rules, like it was mandatory.
There was no option for us growing up.
It's like, listen, I'm putting out this book. I need my boys to live up to these 27 rules.
This year, I transitioned out of football coaching into the business world. I work at ESPN now in West Palm Beach, and I'm in sales. Like, that's my job. So, yes, I was trained by him from like the time I was 5 years old on how to do it. But what I really struggled with was in coaching, I had my process. I had every day to a second scheduled on what I was going to be doing and how I was going to be doing it. They don't give you that when you get a job in the real world, and I consider that the real world. Football's not the real world. We live in our own world, doing our own thing, and not the real world. Like when you go into corporate America, they're not giving you a detailed structure on your day on what you should be doing and how you should be doing it. The book helps with that. And I think that's what my dad does really well, is now that I've been able to be around a lot of his training and get a lot of his training, is especially for salespeople, he teaches people how to structure your day and schedule it so that you know how to be efficient and what to do. Because you can be the most disciplined person in the world. If you don't know what to discipline yourself to do or how to do it, it's a waste. You don't know, you're lost. So for me to find my process of when I prospect, how I prospect, when I reach out to people, what my new business outreach is and what it looks like and what it sounds like and all of that kind of stuff, and putting it together into a daily schedule. Now my blocking of my schedule starts at 6 o'clock in the morning with workout, period. It's not, I don't put,
and that's on a schedule that is written down as an activity. Right.
On my calendar from 6 to 7 every day, it says workout. So every day at 5:45, I get the alert from my calendar, time to work out. And then 7 to 8 is blocked out for something else, get ready, breakfast, whatever. 8 to 9 is blocked out with read an article, answer emails, do whatever, research, whatever it is that I need to do. But I have it so that I'm not thinking about on Sunday when I get to work on Monday, what do I have to do today? It's already there. It's already on my schedule. So I'm getting the alert. Okay, time to transition to this. Time to transition to that. And sometimes if it goes over, I know I'm eating into something else that's happening, but it needs to be done. Then
I think it's really significant to say that these are rules that I've had for 40 years. I just wrote the book 2 years ago at the urging of some of the people that when I'm in front of the audience, they go, "This is unbelievable. You got to write a book. You got to put this in a book." And so my presentation is called Rules of Engagement. Every single walk of life, if you want to be the best, you have to have rules of engagement. Navy SEALs are the highest trained human beings on the planet. They have rules of engagement. This is standard operating procedure that I think when you define that, and so at 5 years old, both of these guys had standing operating procedure that said, here's how you can gauge yourself. Here's where you can know what you do well, what you don't do well, where you can get better. It has a bent on being sales, but it's really life. I speak to all different kinds of groups. I'm really passionate about entrepreneurism. So I speak to junior achievement. I speak to the kids and coach the kids all the time. And it's that system that they're so drawn to, because they're like, wow, it's such a big ocean out there. How am I going to tackle the ocean? You tackle the ocean one stroke at a time, so it's, this does that, breaks it down very simply. And what I've done is I put real stories in there about how I learned the lessons. I learned getting up early from, at that time, the CEO of the Florida Panthers. Michael Yormark, great friend of mine, now is the president of Jay-Z's organization, Rock Nation, highly, successful human being. And his emails would land in my in-mail, early. I would wake up and be the first one there. And I was like, dude, are you just getting in, or you're like, what's the story with you? And he goes, listen, if I wake up, what time do you wake up? And we had this conversation. If I wake up 2 hours earlier than you, well, do the math, man. I'm out working you 40 hours. I have an extra week, a month that I'm out working you. And really what it comes down to is the work. Both of these guys, when they got to a place to do something, they did it, and they did more than they were asked to do, and blew people's minds. They go, what is it with these guys? Look at what they're doing. That's what people, it shouldn't be the outlier. It should be the norm, but it's not. Do the work. Do 10% more than someone asks you to do, and watch what happens if you do that every day. So, that's happening to you now.
Well, it's interesting. I'm obviously, a senior here, and I'm surrounded by kids who are trying to find jobs now, and they're worrying about money, and parents are calling them saying, what are you doing? When are you getting a job? Like, what's your plan? And they look at me and they go, how are you working 4 years for free? They're like, you have to get paid, right? I go, I don't get a penny from the team. They go, well, why? I go, experience, work ethic, connections, the gear, and the traveling is also
They have
fun.
great gear.
But kids don't have the mentality that they need to work for it. Most of them think they're going to come out of school and get a $100,000 job or a $200,000 job, and everything's going to be fine. I at least learned and continue to learn for free. And I think the education part and the willing to work for free, he talks about it all the time, is important in learning. And from the book standpoint, like, we're a walking testament for the book. He 6 months ago picked up his life and decided to completely change it, get out of football, get into sales, and he's obviously doing pretty well at it. So I think we're a living testament, and that the book works and the rules are real.
And to me, the understanding that nothing is free. Right? Nothing that you want is free. Like, even if somebody gives you something, it's not free. There's an opportunity cost to taking that and now taking something else. So the understanding of that whatever you want costs something, you have to decide what you're willing to give up. I gave up a lot to be a football coach. I gave up deciding where I wanted to live. I gave up free personal time. Like, you work 80 hours a week every single week.
Crazy.
You're traveling all the time. There was no holidays. Like, we came up here for Thanksgiving because he doesn't get a break. They're practicing on Thanksgiving. So
on that day, that morning, Thursday
you
morning,
have to decide what, if you really want something, what are you willing to give up to have that?
Oh, I love hearing you say that. Because that's how I drilled them. As I said, because then it's not work, then it's passion, then it's, it really changes the rules.
I was not a great student. Like, I just wasn't. Like, school for me, as soon as I got involved as a student assistant coach at Florida State and started realizing that, like, I could choose to go to class and spend time in my economics classes, or I could spend another 4 hours in the office sitting with Jimbo, learning the offense and being around guys and be there to do something else that he asked me to do. That was the opportunity cost for me. I wasn't going to be a great student. I would do what I need to get it done. I knew that I had a passion for football. That's where I wanted to spend all my time. So I started giving up everything else to spend all my time there. I don't suggest everybody do that.
Well, it's interesting because people poo-poo that. You got to finish school and you got to do. I didn't. I said, do what you love and the money will follow. Always. That is an absolute rule of the universe, that if you're doing what you love, the money will show up. And we've been trained the reverse way. Go find a $100,000, job that in 3 years you're going to be miserable, burnt out. You hate it. You hate life. That's no way to live, And so if you really decide what you're passionate about, and the best part about having the conversation with you guys is you're figuring it out on the fly. Boom, something lands on your windshield and we go, that looks cool, man. We know that. We could do that. And you can change like that. That was never the way I was trained. I was said, go to school, get a job, get married, buy a house, do all of this shit that was like, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for that. What, how did that, but that was, and Gary Vee is awesome at telling younger people, maybe to a fault. I mean, there was a 16-year-old kid that was on video recently. He said, yeah, quit school, man. Whoa, pump the brakes. So, but fundamentally, some of the biggest innovation is coming from people who are not living inside the box. They're making their own rules, and social media has done that. Shows like this, providing value to people at scale. This was never done before. You would have had to go on TV and pay a lot of money, and the less production you put into something, the more value it brings to people. So I'm fascinated by the change in 5 years. I can't imagine. You talk about 2020. Well, 2020 is perfect vision. Let's see how vision changes, this coming year. Let's see, how, when you see clearly, what do you see?
I like that.
Because I don't see anything that's bound anymore. It's boundless. Anything, just getting in an Uber, 5 or 6 years ago, it was like, what are you talking about? What's an Uber? Now you don't even think twice about, doing that, taking a scooter, doing, all of these things. The innovation is happening so fast. And you talk about the school here and the brain power. I mean, Florida's a really good school. The people that they're attracting, it's hard to get in. I mean, he got the job at the football school, at the football program, and they said as long as you get in, you have the job. They had no control over, because it's very highly, monitored. Well, what's happening with those kids is so influential because they're not bound by the rules of my world. Like, the CEO's like, why would people care that I'm, sitting and doing a podcast with this guy? Why would they care what I'm eating for lunch? Well, you know what? People care because I'm marketing that restaurant better than the restaurant can market it themselves. Wow, it's unbelievable. So, when someone stops me on a plane or in an airport and go, you're the guy who wrote that book, what other world does that happen in? It's like, so it's so much fun. And so for me, 2020 represents, there are no rules. So it's sort of the other side of my book. You have to have some rules on how to manage your life, but there's nothing you can't do. You could do anything you guys want. And I love the fact that you're not bound by like, well, we can't do that. We could do that. Anything you want, as long as you provide value, genuine and authentically, which you guys are doing. You guys are fun. I've listened to the shows. You're providing value to Gainesville that didn't exist before. What are you charging them for that? You're not. It's a word. Hey, we're giving it to you, and in return, you guys are stars, man. So it's cool. I don't know about, you're obviously younger, so you see it differently than I do.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook started when I went to school, so like Facebook was for college students, and the things that I posted on Facebook when it first opened are not things I would post on Facebook now, like I look back and I'm like, ooh, I can't believe I put that on the internet,
Because it's still there.
but to understand social media, and now to be in a marketing world where I'm talking to companies about how to brand themselves, understanding that what your message is and where your message lives is incredibly important, because it's not traditional anymore.
No.
Like, magazines are great if they're a niche magazine, right?
Or
like
if it's supporting something else.
Or if it's supporting something else. But like, not a whole lot of people are just reading the newspaper anymore just to read it, because they have it on their phone, right? They're getting notifications about news daily, or they're scrolling through a feed. So understanding that you have to live in a place where everybody's attention is, because it's all about attention, but then also have a real message. Be you. Be authentic. Put yourself out there. You're going to do business with people that like you, because that's who does business with you now. It's not like people who don't like you are banging down your door to do business with you, and you don't want to do business with them anyways.
Right.
So put out who you are, let the world know it, and then the people that like you will find you, and you'll do business with them. And to me, that's the best kind of relationship that you can have, is somebody that not only are you friends with and that you like, but that you can also help.
Probably the best story is how we landed up on your show, through a mutual friend in social media, Johnny.
Yeah, did you know that?
You told me
Johnny
that
Earl?
before we recorded. Yeah, Johnny
Okay,
Earl.
so Johnny Earl, for everybody who's listening, also Johnny Cupcakes, like that's
awesome.
the story. I mean,
Such
he's
a
had
great dude.
such an impact on our business
He's
from
amazing.
a customer experience standpoint. Like, I met him at one of the Inc. magazine.
GrowCo. I was at the same one in New Orleans.
No.
We went to Nashville.
Nashville, I'm
15,
sorry,
at
right?
15,
Nashville.
yeah.
I was at that one in Nashville.
Yeah, okay.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Where all the country music guys played.
Yeah.
It was great. In the
But
auditorium
did you speak at that, or you were there?
I was there. I did not speak at it.
Okay. So is that how you got to know him? Like, how'd you get to know him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what was interesting, I was in Boston. I travel a bunch, and I actually went into his store thinking it was a pet food store. Like I was like a bakery kind of, the whole thing blew my mind. I was like, okay, whatever he's smoking, I want some of it. It was the coolest innovation, just looking at the store. And then I realized it was cool t-shirts.
Yeah.
And once, I got the opportunity to see him, I had already experienced the store, had already followed him. And so it was great. Our dialogue was great. When he comes to Palm Beach, I'm the first call. He calls me. We just go and just share ideas. There's no agenda.
I mean, and talk about social media and the power to connect with people. You know what I mean? Like we met him at that conference, and I had met him at at another one before, which probably was New Orleans, but I was with Chad Paris at that time.
Right.
But anyway, but out of the blue, I mean, we had connected on LinkedIn and we engaged with each other a lot on LinkedIn. And he just randomly drops a message saying, "Hey, Collin. Hey, Steve. You both went to the University of Florida. I feel like you guys should know each other."
Is that unbelievable?
And that was it. And I actually was like mind blown by just the fact that he
had you on his radar.
Yeah, right. Like I was on his radar, or he thought somehow that came across his mind of like, let me make this connection, and then from there, it was like, "Hey, Steve, what's up?" Like, and then I started like following your content and just seeing what I'm like, "Hey, dude, so if you're ever in Gainesville, I mean, like we have a podcast, but we have this like studio, and it kind of requires you to be here because everybody's kind of like, well, can you Skype?" And we're like, we really don't.
I don't do that for mine either. So
it's like a brand thing, like,
for sure.
But if you're ever in Gainesville, would love to have you. And they're like, "Dude, Thanksgiving week, I'm gonna be."
That's why we're here on Sunday.
I know, like I'm like messaging everybody, like, "Hey, can we like make this happen on a Sunday?"
But
like,
so the interesting thing about that is that it is a connection economy. He didn't ask for anything.
No,
he wasn't looking for anything. He did it because it was there to do. And if you live that life in social media, I was a connector long before social media. I was that guy who read a book called The Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell, which if you have not read it, you absolutely must, because it was written pre-social media. And this guy was talking about how the law of few turned out to be the law of many. And there's tons of great stories in there, but it basically validated to me that I could make a living just on my Rolodex. Now, I know a lot of your audience doesn't even know what a Rolodex is. So
they're Googling it. They're Googling it right now.
So, but I had already lived that mindset that when I would go in and speak to somebody, I would listen to what they were saying and go, "Hey, you know what? You should meet these 3 people because they're right up your alley." And they were like, "Excuse, come again? Did you just introduce me to people that I could do business with, and I'm not working with you yet?" Well, my contention was that if you were going to work with somebody in my space, who would you do it with? Me over anybody else? Because I've just put money in your pocket or giving you resources. So that connection economy is how I always lived. People say to me, "You know everybody." I do, because there's value in everybody, not to sell them. I just want to know them. I want to know their story, who they are, what they did, how they did it. Why am I doing this? There's no, I'm not getting anything for this other than I made great friends with you guys. There's no doubt that whatever you need, you could call me and say, "What do you think of this?" And you know what? That's really good. That's what the connection economy is about. And I might have something land on my plate that has nothing to do with what's happening in this room, but it's because of what we did in this room. And that's just, it's not heady. It's not crazy shit. It's real. It's,
I mean, that's to me. And you can manage relationships at scale because of social media. Like, I don't post things to get likes. I post things so that even if somebody's just rolling through their feed, they see my name. They remember me. So like, you're on people's radar just by being out there. I like sharing what I do. I don't do it to brag. Everybody's like, a lot of people talk about social media as this, "Oh, well, you're just promoting." Yeah, I am promoting my life. I love my life. I want to share my life with everybody out there because I want them to know that I love what I do. Period.
But you also have some shit in your life that you're willing to share equally as well.
Right.
It's not
and because you don't know, maybe somebody else is going through the same thing and they can help you with it. Like, it's a place that you can just share and interact. And to me, being able to manage relationships at scale and just be able to shake people's hand every day by posting on social media, how is that not valuable?
Yeah, one of the things I shared on social media way back was that, I still have the same fears and doubts I had when I was in the shoe business. When I started as a kid selling ladies' shoes, I would always get to the point of sale, get the deal, and go, all right, how am I going to do this now? We won the business. Now there's just more zeros on every deal that I do. But I always have that, okay, there's two parts of every deal. You got to get it, and then you got to execute it. And executing is hard. So people go, wow, you always sound like you really know what you're doing. Well, I really don't. I take everything I can to make it work, but I have those same fears. And people go, wow, you just made me feel better about my fears. I go, guess what? All of us have fears and doubts. It's not going away. It's learning how to handle them. It's learning how to understand when that message comes across and go, I've been here before, and I know it's going to be all right. I know I got through it every time. Focus on what to do, don't get stuck in that place, and that's what happens to people. So when I hear him talk and I hear Jake talk, there's so much of just being around good quality people and good quality content that they put, like just hearing him say, allows you to manage relationships at scale in one click. I could tell everybody Happy Thanksgiving, and it's going to land in their email or their, it's fascinating. Social media is just that way. So.
For sure. This is something that I like to preach on and talk about all the time, because social media is something that I've just been completely fascinated with, and it's the way we've grown our company. Like I showed you my Snapchat card before,
great.
Focusing on using social media even as a social, as a customer service
tool.
platform, a tool versus like, hey, let me shove my promotions down your throat.
Well, so that's what
branding. Like I get who you are through this. You know what I mean? Like I can infer a lot of things in my mind about what kind of dude you are, and what you might know and what you might like based on just looking at this card. And that's, to me, is so important about putting your brand out.
So when you look at a guy like Johnny, Johnny is uniquely Johnny, Johnny Cupcake. He's uniquely him. He's going through an unbelievably great time in his life, adopting a baby, and he is so real. There's nothing fake about him at all, which makes him so much better. When you go to his social media, you can follow all of that genuine and authenticness, that if it wasn't that, it would be such a bummer. So when you meet people, when they really are the person that you see online, it's like, wow, this is fascinating, because there's so much of that Tinder mentality where, oh shit, that's not who you are. Man, what are you talking about, man?
The fact that he just dropped the Tinder quote is mine. I didn't even know he knew that one. So.
I thought he was talking about something else.
And it's funny, Johnny's built such a brand for his business.
Incredible.
I mean, people are like tattooing. It's funny because people tattoo that logo on their body. It's like, talk about a cult following.
It's crazy.
In fact, I did a talk one time where I referenced Johnny Cupcakes and the fact that people tattooed his logo on their body, and I go, I don't know about you guys, but I can't wait until people tattoo my logo. And I lifted my shirt and I had one of these temporary tattoos, NS4L across my stomach.
That's awesome.
Did it at a talk. It was pretty funny.
That's really funny.
I mean, he's built such an incredible brand,
and he's had lots of things that didn't work. They were all part of the experiment, and that's what's so great about him. He's not afraid to try stuff. He does pop-up stores now.
Yeah,
he's done,
I love that.
The store in LA was unbelievable. The grand opening was incredible, but it didn't work. Okay, man, it was fun. We did it. We tried it. Next, and he just continues to move on. He has an amazing consulting business because he's consulting brands in a way that they're not used to hearing language like that. Most consultants are trying to tell you what you want to hear. He's clearly not that, man. He's like, this is the way it is. I don't give a shit what you think.
That's the crazy thing for me, transitioning out of football, because football and track, I think, are the only two sports you can't lose. You can't. You have one finite window. You've got the 100-meter, or you've got that 4-hour window of a game. You have to win. In business, you can lose. You can be 60-40 and be a billionaire. Had 40 businesses fail and do terrible, but had 60 that did really well and be a billionaire. There's not a whole lot of places like that. That's okay. For me, I had this mentality when I got into every person that I had to call on, I had to make the sale to, because I have to win. That's not really how the real world works. You know, it's not that football where you have to be 12-0 to win the national championship. You can be 6-4
or adjust what you
really
think a win is.
Right.
Like I ask salespeople all the time. I go, "What's a win? What's a great, meeting? What does that look like as a great meeting?" They go, "Oh, if they have a budget, or if I meeting with the decision maker." I go, "What happens if you meet somebody you like really dig, man? You have like, you really hit it off with them. Is that a good meeting?" And they're like stunned because they gotta go back to their boss and go, "I didn't make the sale." And so that's the counterculture of where management and sales are saying, "Go make the sale, go close, go get their money." When the guys who are building relationships at scale are the ones who are winning. Look at baseball. Yep. Somebody hits 3 out of every 10 times at bat, they're in the Hall of Fame making $25 million a year. Great. Salespeople that hit 3 out of every 10, Hall of Fame by far. It's a numbers game. So if you just go about it and say, if you meet good people, you make great relationships, you build a pipeline of all that kind of stuff, there's no doubt that something good will happen. There'll be a piece of business that I can land for you in Gainesville. There's somebody else I know. There's somebody you'll know. We'll be speaking at a conference together. There's just no doubt, but people are not willing to invest in the time and energy it takes to do that because they have a credit card and they want it now.
Yeah, and they're not willing to wake up early enough.
Oh, guess what, dude? I'm calling you every day.
It starts. 2020.
It's coming, baby.
Collin, are you up? That's funny. Mike, what you got?
Is the passion enough to sustain you, or is there something you have to do to recharge your batteries?
That's an absolutely awesome question. So I am legitimately passionate about what I do, but I burn out all the time. And so you have to have hobbies. You have to have things that take you out of your normal day-to-day. I like to eat, I like to drink, and I like to travel. So, going places, and I've been able to wrap that into my business life. So like people say, God, man, you're always on the road. I don't look at it as, God, I'm always on the road. I'm like, wow, man, I'm always on the road. I'm in another city. I'm having dinner this coming Thursday night in Dallas. I'm super pumped about it. We'll have dinner. We'll go to a Stars game or a Maverick game. Friday's something else. So I'm going to be 60 years old. I love that. I don't ever look at it as like, oh God, man, you have to travel all the time. So it's perspective. It's how you look at what you do and what you get to do. And then sometimes it's okay. Like you say, you get tired. There are days I take a nap in the afternoon. And when I had my agency, one of the ideas that came up was, hey, we need to build a napatorium. And I was like, okay, I give up. What's a napatorium? Right? And then we want a room where we can just go to sleep and lay down and chill and close our eyes and listen to some music. And you know what? I just visited the corporate offices for Orange Theory. They're the fastest growing, most successful franchise organization in the world. And in their corporate office, they have a napatorium. They have a place with pods and, you can go down. They mandatory have a masseuse on site that mandatory once a month you have to get a massage. So long answer, but there are things that you need to do for yourself that if you pay attention, I nap in the afternoon. I can sleep for 15 minutes and it recharges me. It's what we did when we were kids. Hey, in the afternoon, take a 15-minute nap. There's nothing wrong with that. Someone told us it was wrong, and so you have a negative connotation from it. But if I take a 15-minute nap, I'm recharged and ready to go. And, so I think it's, sort of figuring out what works for you and, real downtime. I realized I'm a beach guy. I like to work out and run on the beach. The sound of the waves, all of that stuff works for me. So I find when I want to stop, I just go to the water, and the water itself is soothing and I talked about that rhythm. So it's all there if you're willing to pay attention. And this is the biggest challenge for everybody is if you listen to everybody else, you'll never get what you want. And if you figure out what you want and you go do it, it's not that difficult. You just can't live by somebody else's rules, which is what's happening to 21-year-old. 21-year-olds are graduating. I sent you to school. I did this, and now I'm cutting you off. What? What are you talking about? What's wrong with, so he just laid out his game plan for us about what his plan is over the next 5 years, and it sounds great. And it's not about making a paycheck. It's about becoming a better person, about fulfilling. And at 25, he'll be much better educated to make a decision on what the rest of his life looks like. I think, than pushing him into something now. So, it's
You have to listen to yourself. Like, you have to. Like, I loved coaching. Like, I loved leading young men. I loved being a mentor to them. I loved coaching. I did not love pretty much anywhere that I lived when I was coaching. I did not love the amount of time I had to spend away from my family. And so I did it for 10 years and I was just done. Like, I had to listen to myself. I had to say, I could continue to grind and push and do this and do it for another 10 years to hopefully become a head coach one day. Or I can say, you know what? I've accomplished a lot. I know I could be a head coach if I wanted to be. I don't know that I really want to anymore. So I tried something new.
Takes a lot of guts.
I called him and I said, hey, I think I'm out. I think I'm done. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but, and he's like, I love it. Come home right now. Yeah, I got 1,000 people I want to introduce you to. We'll find something for you. We'll figure it out.
Next. So when people hear no, they're like shut down. No is next opportunity. Let's go. Let's see what's coming next, man. That's invigorating. Don't hang on to the past. There's a lot of people who would have stayed where in that position and been miserable forever. The support group around them would be, well, you've invested 10 years. You can't quit now. Well, it's not going to get better. You hate it.
I mean, there were guys, like, when I decided to get out, I got a lot of text messages and phone calls like, really? Like, you're leaving? You're going to come back next year, right? And I'm like, I don't know. And now, I'm 8 months in. December 1st is 8 months into working for ESPN in West Palm. And I'm so happy that, like, I look back and I'm like, I don't know if I was ever really happy. Like, I know I loved coaching the kids, but I don't know that I was ever really happy in everything else that was going on. So to feel this way and to feel excited, I think passion takes you so far, but you got to listen to yourself. You have to listen to yourself, and you have to figure out how to make yourself happy. If that's working from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. so that, whatever, you can sleep in the mornings, and then do that, But, like, I think you have to find what works for you and then go chase it with every ounce of energy.
Love it.
We took a vacation in Costa Rica last year, and it's fascinating how many Americans live in Costa Rica now who have given up corporate life to go there and teach scuba diving or go, boating or any of the recreational things that are available down there. They've given it up for a different lifestyle. Pura vida, man. I want a good life, So it's not about money. We were told to chase the money, and that's such very few people do I know that, are, oh my God, it's all about money and really happy, because there's so many other things. And that's why I said, so if you listen, your body's telling you, your mind is telling you, just don't listen to everybody else, because nobody knows better than you.
Yeah. So this has been awesome. I wish we could go on all day, actually.
We will.
Because we didn't even
come on, bro.
We didn't even really dive into your stories and that kind of stuff. I mean, we just
we'll
went.
be back. We'll come back.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
Yeah, so.
But I do want to ask. I'm going to ask a couple quick answer questions. Okay.
Good. No such thing with us, but
yeah. Good luck. We'll give it our shot as we wrap this up. So we'll start with Mark.
Okay.
What's your favorite of the 27 rules?
Oh, drink something green.
Okay.
That one has stuck with me for forever. I really believe in it. I drink
That's
something
a really
green.
good question.
Yeah. Jake.
Make your bed. 100%.
Make your bed.
Start your day, right. And coming home to a clean bed, there's nothing
Great
better.
one.
There's nothing better.
Okay. So,
Great one.
hold on. All right. I'm going to come back to that one. Okay.
For me, it's the 3 best words in sales. So simply, visit, fit, value. Most people talk about meetings and appointments. Nobody wants to go on meetings and appointments for doctors and attorneys. If you visit with people regularly and have that as a part of your daily diet, really good things happen. So I love that. And that's something really actionable that people can take from the book. And the next conversation they have is, hey, Collin, when can you and I visit? And the world changes.
Okay. Awesome. Love it. So real quick on this, make your bed. All right. So I know you travel a lot. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you're at a hotel if you're at a hotel, are you making your bed or do you let them make your bed?
So that's an unbelievable question. Not only,
Yes, I did it. It took 87 episodes. I asked the one unbelievable question.
not only I don't actually make the bed, but I pull the covers up and I sort of clean it up, and then I leave a tip for the unknown person that's cleaning the room.
Okay. I was very curious because I'm like, all right, this is one of the rules.
So it's a part.
He's traveling
It's
a lot.
basically about clutter. So I don't want to leave the room. No. So for me, it's about getting dressed and getting set. And so everything that's happening in the morning when I get up, pull the covers up, make it somewhat clean, lay out my day. Boom, boom, boom. So if the bed's not clean, it's too cluttered for me. I can't focus.
He's also a neat freak, and he passed that on to me. So
That's good.
It works.
we don't do well with clutter.
Okay. So a lot of people could get overwhelmed by 27 rules, right? Like not everybody, but a lot of
Okay.
people could, right? So if there was a one rule, like here we are starting 2020, if you had to pick, like I know what your favorite rule is, but if there was one rule you're like, all right, like this is the one you should start with, what would the rule be?
Tell me something good.
Tell me something
Yeah,
good.
no doubt.
Tell me something good. I think, not to like hop on the Gary Vee train or anything, but like he's really pushing happiness right now and good. And I think it's so easy to be negative and to bring people down. If you tell somebody something good every day, it's going to make everybody happier and it's going to be a better place. So I think tell me something good for sure.
That's the number one rule accepted by CEOs, because I do these meetings around the country where they're either CEOs, Vistage, or CEO councils and stuff like that. And that gets voted as the number one rule because it's a culture change. Instead of saying, how are you? You say, ask somebody, tell me something good. They're usually stunned because they're not thinking about anything good. Whatever they tell you about you made them feel good. And if you make people feel good, they want you around all the time.
I'm picturing like every time somebody walks in the door to give us bad news. Yeah. Walk in
So
there,
I tell you what.
they'll be like, hey, whoa, stop. Tell me something good.
Before you
I love it. I love it.
Don't even tell me
love
If you call my voicemail, my voicemail says, hey, it's Steve, tell me something good. Now, there's people who call with bad news, and they'll go, well, I got good news, I got bad news. And they're like, so it's great.
But I'm going to start with the good news.
And then the bad news is you're fired.
So, Jake, what's yours, man?
Make it a habit to smile. I
Okay.
think a lot of people are miserable in the world right now and don't do a well enough job of trying to be happy or even give it an effort. So I think an underrated one is make it a habit to smile.
That's a good
People
one.
are drawn to people who are smiling and happy. And one of the rules I have for people who do a lot of phone work is they have to work in front of a mirror. And so things that you watch yourself, body language, posture, all of that. If you're in front of the phone, you will not do things that, like leaning back and all of the things that your tendency to do you wouldn't do if somebody was right in front of you. And so that's, the habit, the smile habit is if I smile at you, it's contagious. You'll smile right
it
back.
is. You're right.
So it really does work.
Keep smiling at me. Mike, what you got? Any last things?
I was actually interested in what's the hardest rule to keep up with. Like what
Ooh,
is
that's
the
a
one
good
that
one,
you're
too.
just like, man, like I know this one's important, but it's so hard for me to do.
For me, it's wake up early.
Yeah.
I told you, like, I there's not a day that goes by that I get up to go to the gym that I'm like, yes, I'm waking up. Like,
Right.
It's hard, but that's a thing that I think is important to me, so I discipline myself to do it. But it's hard. I mean, for me, it's hard.
We're similar in that way. How about you? Is there one?
I
That's
mean,
a
I
struggle?
think they're all hard in their own way. And for me, what it is a scorecard that when things are not going the way I want, I can pinpoint, you know what? I haven't really been smiling, or I got away from drinking something green. Or so it's a roadmap that says, all right, if I go back to the basics, here's my basics. So it's hard to keep them all up. And I don't look at it as like every day I check the box that I did it. It's a mindset that is based on outcomes. If I don't get the outcomes, I can look at the inputs. And so, that's really what it is for me. So it's just discipline on everything you do, I know if I drink something green first, I feel better, but I'm prone to go have breakfast with somebody. Oh, you're in town and they make the greatest waffle. Well, you don't feel good after you eat waffles. So it's just mindset. It says, okay.
I know, real quick, we do have to end. So, but I this focus on gratitude and this focus on, showing up showing up like 100%, like every single time. Right. And I think even in the book, you brought up like a story about like a ballerina or something, how she was like, I had like, it's somebody's opening night.
Yeah, man.
Somebody's seeing me for the first time. Right. And like, I think it can be super difficult to have that mindset all the time. Right. And I even think like some of the times where I have to get on stage, or I'm thinking like, if you have to get on stage and speak, like if you just had a terrible night the night before, or you're waking up maybe not feeling 100%, maybe you're sick, maybe you got a migraine, like, I mean, maybe the University of Florida lost.
Maybe they won. Maybe you celebrated too much.
Right?
Maybe you celebrated too much because they won. Like in those few instances, like, do you have any tips or anything that you can do to like really like refocus, get on stage, like let me do this, like, let me show up? Because I gotta think it's even prevalent even in coaching, right?
For
like,
sure.
I mean, you got to snap out of it. You're taking the field. Like, let's go.
As a special teams coordinator on a Wednesday on week 10 of the season, when you got that special teams meeting for 15 minutes, I can't flub that. I can't just foo-foo that. I got to get up there. I got to be fast. I got to be full energy. I got to be organized to deliver the message so that we can get what we need to get done that day. So,
well, I think the most important part is you made all the focus on you. I make the focus on them
100%.
And how I need to be for them. And that's a paradigm shift in life, is that, would it be okay if I got on this show and I say, wow, man, I'm really hungover from last night and I'm not, it's just about you, man. I promised you I'd be here, and I talk about it in the book and this was a Michael Jordan thing. If you get up every morning and you look in the mirror and you say, on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I? You might be a 5. Learning how to go from a 5 to a 10 is a personal thing. Some people read, some people, do exercise, some people have coffee, some people yoga, meditate, whatever it is that you do. Michael Jordan was an unbelievable perfectionist at this. He would go from a 5 to a 10. He'd learn how to do that because he said it was physically impossible to be a 10 all the time. You'd burn out. So the trick is figuring out when you're not a 10, what do I need to do that? And when you do that, like for me, one of the things is music. I have certain music that when I put it on, and everybody really reacts well to that one because everybody has a favorite song. They just don't know when to use it. If you put on your favorite song, all of a sudden you're grooving and moving and it's changing, and all of a sudden you forgot that you're a 5. You go, I got this thing, So
what's your hype song, real quick?
So I'm a big Motown fan. So I'll listen to Marvin Gaye. I'll listen to the Jackson 5. All of that's the Aretha Franklin. Respect is a good one for me. But even some AC/DC, Thunder. I've come out on stage to that, and I'm lit up like a Christmas tree. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. They go, this guy is going to implode on stage.
So Jake, what about you? Any forgetting that mindset, getting ready to go, we got to show up?
Well, a saying that we use in football, or I've heard a couple times, you have to be good enough to win on your worst day. Wow. You're never going to show up the same. Every week is different, especially in college football where you're dealing with 18, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds who are dealing with finals. They still go out. They still have friends. They don't sleep at night. So it's interesting. It's different with college kids. So in order for them to be good, you really have to instill them every day. On a Wednesday, they just had a test before. Now they have 3 hours of meetings. Getting them hyped up to believe that they need to do it and continue to do it is hard. So it's really understanding the person, but like they said, it's your mentality. When you bring the juice every day, they bring it for you. It's that accountability thing that goes both ways. You have to be accountable to them, and they're accountable to you. And when you build that trust with them, brother, they continue to bring it for you. And as long as you do it for them, they will continue to do it for you.
It's awesome.
I'm a pretty proud dad.
Yeah. We had Steven's sons on the show. Have you guys ever done a podcast together? Or is this the first
they've
one?
done my podcast together, but I don't think we've done anybody else's podcast together.
No.
So, we were the first.
Yeah. Nicely done.
And we'll not be we are coming back.
We're going on the world tour.
You guys got to let us know.
The world tour is starting.
Yeah, the world tour. That's great. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Really
thanks for having us.
Thank you for having
Thanks for
us.
making the time for us on a Sunday.
Not a bad way to spend a
great.
Sunday.
Here's an interesting little tidbit is that for the early part of my career, people used to pay me to shut up. So now they pay me to talk. Look at this, man. So,
How does that shift happen?
When people ask him what he does, he goes, "I speak."
I like to talk.
When people ask me for my opinion, I'm like, oh, you actually wanted a... Usually I just give it to you for free.
That's great. So for our audience, where can they find you, connect with you, social media, that kind of
so
stuff?
everything is Nudelberg, Nudelberg. So it's Nudelberg.com for me. And then from me, it would be hard to miss me on social media. You can find Jake and Marc, M-A-R-C. So we're very visible. I think it's one of the real keys to being successful in this life is to be visible. Build your own audience, give them value. And so I'm out there providing real value every day outside of the book, real-time stuff of how to think and things that happen to me. So I love the feedback that I get from what I put out there. And people go, wow, man, you put so much out there. And I go, yeah, but what about likes and all that other stuff? I go, listen, if the right person hears the message at the right time, I did my job. That's what I'm here to do. So I don't really care about the rest of the stuff. So anybody who's listening to this, feel free to reach out. I do it all myself. I mean, I have a team of people, but I respond to all the social media stuff. I'm the one engaged in it. I don't believe there's a way to fake that. It has to be genuinely you. So if someone has a question, I answer it. And they're like, wow, you really answered? And I go, yeah, you're authentically me. So,
that's awesome.
Yes.
Yep.
And for our audience, please go check out Confessions of a Serial Salesman, 27 rules for influencers and leaders that will change your life and business. I think it's a great way to start 2020. And you just heard us talk about several of the rules right here.
Anybody that mentions your show and contacts me on social media, I'll give them a special deal and I'll send them a hardcover signed copy.
Fantastic.
Dude, what?
That's awesome.
Yeah. Hi. So there you go. Hey, podcast family, everybody, thank you so much for listening and for supporting this podcast. Leave us a review and have a fantastic start to 2020. We are excited about season 3 in the year ahead. You guys, thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you.
We will see you later. You guys, this is the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals and authors and speakers and coaches and everybody else that make you go, whoa. You guys give us your best whoa.
Whoa. Whoa. Whoa.
We will see you later. Bye.